Welcome to Faith Talks Wood Podcast. I'm Will from Flatwood Acres.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.
And we're a podcast that talks about everything from Jesus to joinery and a little bit of everything in between. Tom, so I know I talk about the ducks a lot, but I don't know if I said last week we're starting to get eggs now.
Oh, cool.
They're finally producing. It's a bit sporadic. One day we won't get any. Next day we'll get maybe one in the morning, one in the afternoon. And then the thing that we're not sure if it's because they're new layers, but some of the eggs are like underdeveloped, and they're like either like just
kind of soft,
weird, soft, yeah. And then we've had several that are like soft, and then ducks are stupid, and they'll drop eggs wherever, and so like they've dropped them in their pool, in their water dishes. It's anywhere, but yeah, we start getting eggs. We've got 4 or 5 eggs now, I think, sitting in the kitchen, but they're starting to give back. And then what's today? Monday, Saturday. So next to the house, we have is where the coop was, kind of in the side yard field over there. And there's a red maple tree that is dead. Or it's dying at least, and it's hanging pretty far over, kind of like the house, towards the house or whatnot. And a guy from church is a logger, and he came over one day, and I asked him, I said, can you drop this? If you drop it, I'll drag it off of the tractor, cut up for firewood. I said, but can you drop it so it won't hit the house? He said, yeah, I can drop it so it won't hit the house, but it's going to hit your duck coop. Okay, so this Saturday, my wife and I, which, by the way, it was like the hottest day it's been in like a month or longer, decided to move the coop. So we got the tractor out and put the ducks in the coop and put the forks under the coop and picked it up. And then that was quite the process. And I'm really thankful for my wife. She's a worker. She doesn't stray away from doing the hard work and putting in the sweat equity. And so I lifted up the coop, and then it sits on those like plastic foundation block, deck block things. And so she gathered all those up, and then we took it, 50 yards towards where it was going, and then set it back down because we had to get the gravel and the driveway fabric that's underneath of it, because we've got a driveway fabric and then 2B gravel, at the big gravel, whatever the big gravel is. And so picked up the coop, moved it, set it back down, put the bucket on the tractor, back, picked up all the gravel, took it over, then drug the driveway fabric over, put it where we want it, dumped the gravel, spread the gravel, got the forks back on, picked the coop back up, brought the coop over, set the coop down, and by luck or skill, whatever you want to say, we ended up getting the coop pretty well level. Got it set and then we had to take the fence down before we moved it, and then put the fence back up at the new place and do all the stuff. I had to pull the grounding rod out with the tractor, and then put the grounding rod back in and connect the Energizer, the whole thing. So it was really hot out and it was really exhausting. But my son was at my in-laws all day Saturday. He stayed the night there Saturday night. And then when we got everything done and moved, we went over and dropped off my daughter at my in-laws, and then we went out for dinner and just had a little date night. There's a new like fancy Italian restaurant in town. We tried it out. Glad we went. We won't go back. Just too expensive. Just too. I'm a big guy, and if I'm gonna eat some spaghetti, I want some spaghetti. And it was like seemed like a large size ice cream scoop of spaghetti on there, like just a little little plot. It was. It filled you up because it's homemade noodles. It's like not store-bought anything. But yeah, it was pretty pricey, and But anyways, it was a good weekend. Didn't do much Sunday, and here we are Monday. So how was your weekend?
And we've been laying sod.
Oh, I was gonna ask you about the egg thing. Somebody said you can give them like calcium or something to help with the egg.
Yeah, and so like typically you would when you go to the feed store, they'll have like for chickens they call it land mash that you get when they're young that has the extra calcium and minerals in it to help it. But it was the same thing with chickens, and you'll notice that the eggs will begin getting firmer,
Right.
and they'll get bigger. When they first start laying, a little smaller and softer, but yeah, they have, and you can get organic food that doesn't have all the chemicals in it, but has the minerals they need to,
Right.
because they're just not getting the enough calcium to make the shell get hard. But
Yeah.
and still every now and then we'll get a egg that the shell is really thin on, and
Right.
so it happens.
Yeah. And where we moved them at was this fresh grassy area, and so they're pretty happy when they come out of the coop. There's grasshoppers and crickets everywhere, and so yeah, it's pretty good. But hey, how's that van coming along in your new truck?
Oh, I love it, man. I have not even designed the graphics for it. I've either
Right.
been working or laying side. And
Right.
but before we got on the call, I was out there finalizing the exact placement of our fence, order all the materials for that. So I'm trying
What
to
kind
get
of fence you putting up?
aluminum, black aluminum. And it looks like wrought iron, but aluminum.
Oh, for like the front of the house?
Well, to go the front around to the back, fence
Okay.
in the
Yeah,
yard.
is it more of a decorative kind of fence or?
Well, the main thing is keep our dog in. It's not.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
I personally don't think a fence keeps out a criminal.
Right.
It might
Right.
deter them, but if they want to break in, they're going to break in. So
Right.
it's not. It's to mainly keep other people's pets out of our yard, and which we don't have happen that often. But every now and then, one of our neighbors' dogs will come roaming over.
Right.
We've had some horses run through. We have deer all the time, which the deer they just hop right over it. They typically don't come that close to the house, but it's mainly to keep our dog inside the grassed area so he didn't go
Right.
out and get in stuff. And
What kind of dog do you have?
it's a little schnauzer.
A little football dog.
Yep. So
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. I
yep.
grew up with a Lhasa Apso. You know what those are?
I'm sure I've probably seen one, but I'm not a person that knows. And other than your typical breeds like Boxer and German
Right,
Shepherd
right.
type, I don't know them all.
Yeah, it's just a little dog, kind of like a Shih Tzu kind of thing. We had one of those, then we had a Rottweiler growing up, and then now we've got German Shepherd and a Golden Retriever. So I think the next dog we would get once those two are gone. My wife's always talked about wanting a corgi.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, just kind of short little leg dogs, but they're really smart.
yeah.
So
Those are cute dogs.
maybe someday. There's actually a corgi breeder in our town. Surprising. You go through town and it's up by some Amish farms. They breed corgis up there. So yeah. But anywho, very good. Well, before we get into it, I want to say thank you to the Patreon supporters. Really appreciate you guys. If you want to support us on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/Faith Talks Wood. I want to say thank you to Surf Prep Sanding. If you need any sanding equipment, go to surfprepsanding.com. Use code FAITH at checkout. You get 10% off. We get a little kickback. It's a blessing to the podcast, so thank you. And then give us a 5-star review on Apple and Spotify. Helps the podcast be found and just helps the ratings so that people know that hopefully we're a good show. So without further ado, we are in James chapter 2 this week. What you think?
Yeah, man. I love the whole book of James, but this is another. I like to think of Proverbs and James as like the two books of wisdom.
Right. Yep.
There's some others, Ecclesiastes too, but I, uh, I love this chapter. It's powerful, but this chapter is kind of broken up in two parts. So I'm going to read the first part. Figure we'll talk about that, and then we'll read the second part. So
Let's do it.
Starting off there, the warning against prejudice. My dear brothers and sisters, how can you claim to have faith in our glorious Lord Jesus Christ if you favor some people over others? For example, suppose someone comes into your meeting dressed in fancy clothes and expensive jewelry, and another comes in who is poor and dressed in dirty clothes. If you give special attention and a good seat to the rich person, but you say to the poor one, you could stand over there or else sit on the floor, well, doesn't this discrimination show that your judgments are guided by evil motives? Listen to me, dear brothers and sisters. Hasn't God chosen the poor in this world to be rich in faith? Aren't they the ones who will inherit the kingdom he promised to those who love him? But you dishonor the poor. Isn't it the rich who oppress you and drag you into court? Aren't they the ones who slander Jesus Christ, whose noble name you bear? Yes, indeed. It is good when you obey the royal law as found in the scriptures. Love your neighbor as yourself. But if you favor some people over others, you're committing a sin. You are guilty of breaking the law. For the person who keeps all of the laws except one is as guilty as a person who has broken all of God's laws. For the same God who said, you must not commit adultery, also said you must not murder. So if you murder someone but do not commit adultery, you have still broken the law. So whatever you say or whatever you do, remember that you will be judged by the law that sets you free. There will be no mercy for those who have not shown mercy to others, but if you have been merciful, God will be merciful when he judges you. And man, I will say this.
A lot there.
It's a lot there. And, there's a lot there. Obviously, it's that end part is kind of saying it doesn't really matter which sin you commit. If but I'll say this, that there are tons of Christians out there that would look down on a prostitute because they're selling themselves for sex, but then they would turn around and go and give it away for free, have sex outside of marriage. And it's the exact same thing, except for one person walked away with some cash in their hand.
Right.
It's the exact same thing. Both of them are sin, but yet as Christians and people in society, we look down on the prostitute, and obviously they're sinning. But it's no different than me when I was not married and having sin. The only difference is I didn't get paid for it. I had sex outside of marriage. It was the same identical sin. And, but yet in society, but inside the church, and I could say I've been guilty of this years ago. I'm not now, but I used to kind of have and I think it comes from media. We kind of get a stigma about different races, about different demographics of society, about somebody with tattoos. I'm bald-headed. If you go back into like the 80s and somebody had hair like me, they would automatically say you're a white supremacist, because back in the day, there was that era. You could go back and watch that movie. Was that Malcolm X, where all the white supremacists, they shaved their head bald. Well, I didn't shave my head bald. It all fell out, and I looked stupid having a piece of carpet running around the side, so I shaved the rest of it. But, I used to judge people with tattoos.
Right.
If somebody came in the church and they were covered in tattoos, you kind of just thought they had to be a member of Hell's Angels or you know what I mean. They got to
Yep.
be in a rock and roll band doing drugs, and so we kind of develop these stigmas in our mind of things like that. And I'm just using tattoos as an example. How somebody's dressed. If they come in, and I'll say this, that there are people who are Christians that come to church dressed inappropriately, in my opinion. But if that person that walks into the church, I hear it talks about not dressed as nice, but let's say that prostitute we were talking about walks into dress. Let's picture Julia Roberts from the movie back in the 80s, Pretty Woman. So remember, she was a prostitute until the rich guy takes her on a date, and then of course he ends up marrying her and dressing her all nice. But if the Julia Roberts in the first 10 minutes of the movie walked into church, how would you treat her?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like most people, and I have to say, you're first going to say, "Oh my gosh." Now, but what we're called to do is to welcome that person. They could be brand new. They could be searching, and they didn't know where to go that day, and they decided to come to church. And how we treat them when they walk in might determine whether or not they come back, whether or not they find salvation. And so, same thing with a homeless person. Somebody walks in with filthy, dirty clothes versus, I don't wear a 3-piece suit to church, but I wear clean clothes.
Right.
But you know what I mean? And the one thing I will say that I'm so very proud about my church is that, like, you have people that come to church in a suit and tie. We got people to come in shorts and a T-shirt, blue jeans, and a cowboy hat. And because we live in the country, this big cowboy country out here, everything in between, white, black, Mexican, young, old. We have every demographic you can imagine in our church, and everybody dresses different, and everybody's welcome. And
Well, come as you are, right?
yes, and speaking of tattoos, some of my pastors have tattoos, and in fact, I think
Right.
probably half of them do.
But
But
some of the most thoughtful people that I know come from maybe a lifestyle at one point that was, you would consider maybe undesirable. And I mean, there's a couple guys that go to our church that have tattoos, and they're some of the most thoughtful guys.
oh yeah, yeah,
One of which became a member a few months ago. And at our church, we're smaller, and Christian Church of Christ is our roots. And so we do communion every week. We believe communion every week. Well, in a smaller church, we have a communion meditation. So somebody goes up, and guy from the church, and we'll give a thoughtful, under 5-minute thing about what communion means and what it is, and preparing our hearts for that time. And so I organize the guys that do the communion meditation. And this guy, he became a member a while ago. And so I asked him, I said, "Hey man, would you consider doing communion meditation?" He said, "Yeah, I'll do that." And he's done 2 of them. And I tell you what, man, every time he gets up there, he challenges you. He's thoughtful. All that to be said, you walk up to him and he's got tattoos up his neck, and he's like, but if you wouldn't know any better, you sit down and meet him. He's an extremely thoughtful guy. And so, and part of this, James, he's writing to this Jewish audience. Back in the day, ancient Jewish culture, it was thought that those who had nicer stuff had more blessings from God, right? And so all of this in the beginning of it, of saying like, don't give any, suppose somebody comes in the meeting with dressed in fancy clothes and jewelry, and somebody comes with dirty clothes. This idea of like, if you go to a church, then you got a celebrity that shows up, right? Say you go to church in Silicon Valley or Nashville, like we were at, and we had some quote unquote, famous people, I guess, that would come to church. And if you treat them different, because, oh man, they may give more money to the church, or they may whatever, that's not right. As it says there, verse 6, doesn't this discrimination show that your judgments are guided by evil motives, right? So,
And remember, when it comes to monetary, remember the parable Jesus told about the lady that gave 1 talent versus the guy that gave 10. He gave it out of his wealth. She gave it. It was all she had. So
right.
she was on fire for the Lord. Like she was giving everything she had. And so, yeah, I have to say, in the past, I was guilty of kind of judging people based on appearance, based on cleanliness, based on tattoos, based on whatever. And going to the church I went to in North Carolina and then the one I go to now really opened my heart up to like, man, come as you are, bro. God loves everybody. And I'm going to tell you, like, I got a friend goes to the church I go to now. He's an ex-convict. He was a drug dealer, got caught, went to prison. He's tattooed from head to toe, like all over. But he got saved while he was in prison. And now that dude is on fire for the Lord. Like he goes out and serves people that have had drug problems. Like
Right.
it's
He knows how to
amazing.
speak to them.
He has his own home improvement business, and he will hire those guys when they come out of prison, get them into the workforce, and like if you met him, you'd be like, that brother's got a Harley Davidson riding in Hell's Angels. I mean, he just looks the part. You know what I mean?
Right.
Nicest dude you ever met in your life. Would give the shirt off his back to anybody, and is on fire for the Lord, man. Like he's just an awesome dude, and so you have to remember that. Like, who is it that you're gonna speak to today that may not look like us, may not be, and for me, I'm typically, I'm not in the wealthier class, so I'm in the poorer class. I don't wear fancy clothes or anything. I do go to church clean, but it's we run into all types of people, and so regardless of what they're driving, where they live, what they're wearing, man, they're all God's children, and we're supposed to treat them as such.
Yeah. And, verse 8 talks about the whole love your neighbor as yourself. And we don't think about that. Boy, do we love ourselves, right? It's all about me. It's all about me. It's all about me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, the idea of love your neighbor as yourself, when you really start to boil it down and think about it, there's some deep stuff there. Because, what you wouldn't do to better yourself, to give yourself an upper hand. But, the New Testament, what Jesus is, Paul and James, what they're teaching here, flips that upside down and says, no, you're supposed to pour out for others. It's about others first. And, the first shall be last and the last shall be first, right? It's this whole idea kind of flipped on its head. So, yeah, man, there's good stuff here.
Oh man.
And we're only halfway through the chapter.
Dude, I love the book of James. It's just one of my favorites. But yeah, so we'll pick back up there in 14. So the second part, faith without good deeds is dead. And we could talk about this for hours, but let's see if we can squeeze it out in a normal time frame. All right, so in verse 14, what good is it, dear brothers and sisters, if you say you have faith but don't show it by your actions? Can that kind of faith save anyone? Suppose you see a brother or sister who has no food or clothing, and you say goodbye and have a good day. Stay warm and eat well, but then you don't give that person any food or clothing. What good does that do? So you see, faith by itself isn't enough. Unless it produces good deeds, it is dead and useless. Now, someone may argue some people have faith, others have good deeds. But I say, how can you show me your faith if you don't have good deeds? I will show you by faith, by my good deeds. You say you have faith, for you believe that there is one God. Good for you. Even the demons believe this, and they tremble in terror. How foolish! Can you see that faith without good deeds is useless? Don't you remember that our ancestor Abraham was shown to be right with God by his actions when he offered his son Isaac on the altar. You see, his faith and his actions worked together. His actions made his faith complete. And so it happened, just as the scriptures say, Abraham believed God, and God counted him as righteous because of his faith. He was even called the friend of God. So you see, we are shown to be right with God by what we do, not by faith alone. Rahab the prostitute is another example. She was shown to be right with God by her actions when she hid those messengers, and sent them safely away by a different road. Just as the body is dead without breath, so also faith is dead without good works. And whoo,
I mean,
man,
is there much you need to say there?
man,
Kind of late.
and if you go back and read other sections where it says we are saved by believing and accepting God's gift. Okay,
Right.
that's what saves us. But if we're truly receive that, there should be a change in our heart. Number one, that we're, as it tells us, we want to turn away from sin, but then that we also want to have a heart after God. And what does he tell us to do? Love our neighbors as ourselves, as you mentioned earlier. And so we should want to be like Jesus. What did he do? He constantly went around and helped people. And so you might be a multimillionaire and CEO of a corporation, driving the nicest car, living in the nicest house, writing the biggest contribution check to the church. Maybe you're financially able to write that, but then you ignore the person that needs some food, or whatever else God presents in front of you. I say the prostitute here that did what God asked him to do has more faith. And so, God puts different things in front of each of us. And I think a lot of it, he gives all of us different skill sets and different gifts. Like, you go back and read section where it talks about the different spiritual gifts. And some people have that gift of hospitality and
Romans 12.
yeah, and others, we have gifts of our hands. So maybe we're going out and like there's a person in our church, and our small group has helped this person. The men have gone out and done more physical labor. We've gone and cleaned up the yard, done some home repairs and things like that. The ladies have taken meals and done more of that kind of comforting. It's not that I can't cook or that I can't comfort somebody, but there are different opportunities that I think God presents them to ourselves, and so I think that whatever your skill is or gift is, when it's presented, being obedient and doing whatever that is, for us guys, and it might be going and mowing somebody's yard, or fixing a leaking roof, or, it might be making a phone call to a brother. Today I have a very good friend of mine that on Friday woke up, stomach pain, ended up in the hospital, appendicitis, had his appendix removed. And today he was on my heart. I did nothing more than call and check on him. How you doing, man? You need anything? Simple things you could do. Sometimes it really is something that takes no time, no money, but just a simple moment or phone call, or, whatever it might be. But I do believe, just like it says in that parable where Jesus said, that fruit, that tree that didn't produce fruit, he did away with it. Like, we are going to be recognized by the fruit we produce. And I think also, like, out in society, like, there's some guys in my church that, like, I happen to know them through church, but you could just tell that they're Christians by the way their lives are, like the fruit that is produced by them. You know what I mean? And so when you're at work, it might be getting somebody a cup of coffee, or opening a door for somebody or something. Just the little simple things. Those are fruit on the tree that shows the kindness and love of Christ. And so, yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean that. I love our pastor in Tennessee, Corey Trimble. He would always talk about. I think at one point during our tenure there, he probably went through the Book of James, but the idea of you're not saved by your works, but once you are saved, it's time to get to work, right? And there is something to be said about having faith in knowing that God's going to do something, but to get saved or be at a point and then you just want to sit on your couch and not give back, not get involved, not get plugged in, and not be that neighbor that somebody needs help. You help them, or you see somebody that or somebody that needs a phone call, like you said, you give them a call, just hey man, I'm thinking about you. I think about this past winter. So we had one of the worst winters that I talked about on the podcast, we've seen in years. They're actually talking that we're going to have that, if not worse, this year again. So we'll see how that goes. But out of my immediate neighbors, I'm the only one with a tractor. And so we got just hammered with snow one day. It was just like coming down and you couldn't see in front of you. It's come down so hard. And so that night after I got off of work, I got bundled up after dinner, and tractor's got headlights. It's dark out. And I went out and I plowed our driveway and I plowed my neighbor's driveway and went across the street, went down and plowed, the lady next to us. And that wasn't me like, showing off, like, here, look at me coming to help you. No, one, I thought it was a blast, if I'm honest with you. Bundled up, I'm nice and warm under my coveralls and in my, insulated 1,000-gram insulated muck boots. And there's out there that's snowing, the headlights, you just see snow coming down and you're plowing. And but man, that was just an easy way to just lend a hand and be the hands and feet of Christ. And for those, and here's the thing too, actually this weekend, today's Monday, this Saturday, I'll be going down to our church camp. There's a family camp just Saturday. And I'm going to be speaking down there. And the talk, and I actually talked to you about this, is that idea of having a mentor, having people in your community, and then having a mentee, right? Somebody that you're pulling up, right? You're reaching up to somebody that's further along in their journey than you. You have your peers around you, and then you're pulling somebody up with you to bring them up, right, in the faith, and having the care to pull somebody up in their faith, being that community. I mean, it's part of the faith without good deeds is dead. You've got to be in community. You've got to be working with others. Be involved in a church family. And anyways, what I was getting at there is that part of my talk, because it's going to be a family camp, there's going to be all ages there. No matter what age you are, it applies to you.
Yep.
Whether you're 85 or 18, right? It applies to you. There's always an opportunity. The work of Jesus is never done. We cannot get to a point where we're, in our 70s, 80s and think that I've done my job. You've done your job when you're in the grave, if I'm honest. Now, some people health and there's things that happen, and I get that, but like, man, the work is never done. And there's always work to be done in the kingdom, or for people within the kingdom of God. And so I think it's important for us to remember that. And it's not that you're saved by what you're doing. You do this because of the grace that Jesus has given you. You've been saved by this faith, and it's out of the overflow of your heart is what you give. And so you've seen what God has done in your life, and now you're just pouring on to others. And that's, that's what this is talking about. It's not about, I'm doing this so that I can be saved. And it's not about works-based faith or religion or whatever. It's about, because of what Christ has done for me, I'm going to go out and I'm going to be the hands and feet of Jesus. And I'm going to, out of the overflow of my heart,
the mouth speaks.
The mouth speak, give back. And so, and there's so many different ways in which you could talk about it. But yeah. So,
and I'll say this, like a great way of giving back and being active is actually finding something to do in your church. So I don't care whether you go to a mega church or whether you go to a small country church. A church cannot afford, doesn't have the finances to pay people to do every task that needs to be done in the church.
Mm-hmm.
And, you might not have the skill set like Will does to stand up in front of people and be a pastor and preach. You might not have any musical talent and be able to get up on the stage and sing. But like me, I can't sing a lick. So I work on our tech team at church, and I operate a camera.
Yep.
You don't have to have basically any skills other than to be able to operate the zoom in, zoom out button, kind of look for the different spots that need to be filmed. I mean, you develop that, but it doesn't require much skill what I do. We've got some very advanced photographers and videographers that basically set the equipment up, and all I have to do is stand at my station and move from person to person on stage, zoom in, zoom out, and it's a pretty simple task. But we have 5 camera people, and then we have somebody that operates a back screen lyric. Then we have somebody that operates the front screen lyrics. Then we have somebody that operates I don't know what the controller is that switches between cameras. It's
called a switcher.
Yep. A switcher. We have somebody that operates that, and another person that's overseeing the whole entire thing. Another guy on soundboard who is phenomenal, and another guy operating the internet, the live stream.
Right.
So that is like 12 to 15 people, something like that.
And you go to a bigger church, right?
Right. We have a bigger church. Not every church is going to have be video. And so back in North Carolina, I went to a church that we did video our stuff. They did it at the main campus, but our smaller one. And so there, me and my daughter, we did the coffee. We would go back, we'd get to church early, brew coffee, bring it out, keep everything supplied back there. Really simple task. Doesn't take much skill to make coffee. You know what I mean?
Right.
But think about, you need somebody in the nursery taking care of the babies, somebody teaching the preschoolers. You need somebody greeting people at the door. Somebody working on a ministry when people are sick in their homes and need meals brought to them. There's something that falls into, I'm going to call it your skill set or your passion, where you can get plugged in. And it's also, the benefit is you're going and serving. You're giving of yourself. So you're planting fruit. But I'm going to tell you what happens is you end up reaping fruit. Like being around, oh my God, I love being around my tech team. And, it's something about it. Same thing with our small group when we go out and serve. You feel like I'm taking a few hours on a Saturday morning. When you leave, you're like, you just know that recently we went and picked weeds at a gentleman who has going through cancer treatment. We went and picked all the weeds, trimmed his bushes and everything. There was like 15 of us there. We were done in less than 2 hours, like 2 hours on a Saturday morning. But it was a humongous blessing to that individual. So find something you can do.
Well, that's the thing too. We talk about different size churches. So this is a good example. You go to a fairly large church. I go to a small church. Like their average is between 110 110 and 120 people a Sunday at our church. If everybody's there, we're pushing 140, maybe, getting up there. But even in a small church, there are things that need done. Now, mind you, our church is fairly active as far as things to do. But you've got nursery workers, you've got preschool teachers, like you said, you've got, teaching high schoolers, there's the donut time, the coffee time, you've got, we need musicians, we got drummers, guitarists, bass players, singers, we got people running the sound, people running live stream, in the lyrics on the screen, even at a small church, and there's door greeters, we've got door greeters, we've got, there's always opportunity no matter where you're at. And if there's not, or you don't think there is, then create some, especially at a smaller church. Like, find where there's a need and step up and fill that need. And so, there's always opportunity. And there's even stuff, some people don't like being in the limelight, and I get that. I would say my wife is kind of like that. And so we head up a ministry that's called the Bag Program. We fill 90 bags every week full of non-perishable and deliver them down to the school. Elementary school, they give out to kids that are low income, right? Nobody, people in the church know about the program, but nobody really knows what happens there. And my wife thrives in it. She can go do the shopping, she organizes it all, and then myself, and both of our kids go down every week and we fill bags, right? It's an easy, it's really not that bad. But here's the thing, all that to be said, we're a small church and there's always opportunity. At large churches, the bigger you get, just the more opportunity there is, the more places are to get plugged in, right?
Absolutely.
And so you're always gonna be able to find something. Now, having work, right? Getting to work is more than just volunteering at church, right? It's how you live your life. Like you said, you're going to know by the fruit. And so there's always opportunity, for, chat with somebody at work and praying for them, or, just being a good person, man. We're in such a evil world with people that are, just focused on themselves and everything. Be a good person, show the fruit of what Jesus has done by the actions of what you do. So,
And excuse me. And another thing you can do, if there's not something at your church, we go to a church large enough, and the one I went to in North Carolina was even more small groups than what our church is now. And but there was a group of ladies back at my church in North Carolina. There were older ladies that liked knitting. And so they got together once, I think they got together once a week, a couple times a month, something like that. And they would knit hats and then take them and give them away to the homeless in wintertime. So they got together, probably had some, cake or cupcakes and cup of coffee or whatever, and sat and knitted and listened to praise music and, fellowshipped. And then the fruit of their getting together and enjoying time together was a pile of nice quality knitted hats that they could give away to the homeless in wintertime. So you could get creative with something that you like doing that produces fruit that blesses others.
One of the funniest ones that our church in Tennessee did, the square in the town we're from, Murfreesboro, like downtown, there's, the courthouse is in the middle, and there's lots of bars and stuff around there. And so when the church was first founded, they were down off of the squares where the church was located. And so they started this ministry where they bought a hot dog suit, and they go out with a hot dog cart and hand out bottles of water and hot dogs to drunk people. And they have some goofball running around in a hot dog suit, and they're giving hot dogs away for free and bottles of water to get people sobered up before they get in their cars and drive away. Right. And it's been going on. They've been doing that ministry for years. Right. And so there's always opportunity, no matter where you're at and whatnot. So
Very cool.
This
man.
is good stuff. Next week, chapter 3, controlling your tongue, and then true wisdom comes from God. That's gonna be it's gonna be a good one. I'm excited
yeah.
for it. So, yeah, I'm actually. So, as we record this Monday night, tomorrow afternoon, I'm leaving to go to Harrisburg, PA, to an AI conference for a couple of days, and then I'll be turning back around and coming back. And so, it's actually a quick trip. I'll be down Tuesday night. Conference is Wednesday. Turn back around Wednesday and come home, and it's about a 5-hour drive.
Oh, man. That'll be a long day.
Yeah, I'm going out with a couple guys from work. There's 3 of us going down, so it'll be a good time. But yeah, it's going to be a long week, a lot going on. But yeah, how about you? What's your week look like?
I got to lay some more sod, and then after that, start working on the fence. So
yeah, you said it's black aluminum fence.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture what that is.
Oh, it looks like wrought iron fence, except for made out of aluminum. And, the benefit is actually you spend a hair more up front, but then you only have to paint rust. And that's
right.
the big reason is I want something maintenance free. So it costs about 10%, maybe 15% more than doing metal. But in the long run, you're not going to be out there maintaining it. And
right, does it come in panels, or what's it come in?
Yeah, you just buy, comes in 6-foot panels, and you get the posts, put them in the ground, section in, next post, move right on down. So it's pretty easy. I've done them before.
Oh, that'll be good. You guys will.
But yeah, I mean, I like wood, but the problem with wood is then you got to keep staining it, maintain it. And I'm getting ready to turn 55 in a few weeks, and I'm trying to do things thinking about when I'm 75. And when I'm 75, do I want to go out there and stain a fence? No, I want to go fishing and you know what I mean, do something fun, be in my shop. So that's why we're doing the aluminum, so that way, it might go out there and pressure wash it once a year, But that'd be
clean it off. And that's kind of when we eventually build a deck. Kind of want to do like Trex or something, because I don't want to have to worry about it. But
exactly.
But the cost is a little more than 10% more for that.
It is,
right?
But you do it one time,
right?
I mean, I do like wood. I like wood better. It's warmer. It has a different feel to it. But out in the weather, man, you just add one more task to your to-do list that you got to do every few years. And so I don't want to do it.
Yeah. So anywho, well, it's been good, man. Chapter 2, we could probably talk for a lot longer on it, but it's been good. Until next week, I'm Will from Flatwood Acres.
And I'm Tom from Mountain Valley Maker.